Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my spoiler-free review for Hands of Stone. It was a good movie. I was really surprised, but mostly because I really had no idea what to expect going into this. I mean, watching the trailer and stuff, I knew it was going to be more dramatic and drama, but I didn't know what I was going to get out of this movie, and I got a lot of good things out of it. So, first, let me just give you this. I don't really follow sports. Don't really follow boxing, so I'll say this. If you follow boxing and you know the history of Duran and you love boxing, this is the movie for you. You will love it. You'll get way more out of it than I did, and I think you would really enjoy this movie. That said, even though I don't follow boxing and sports, there was a lot in this movie that I did enjoy. So first, I want to hit some of the negatives that I didn't enjoy, knock those out of the way, and then we'll hit those positives. So some of the negatives for me were, I felt like this movie did a lot of jumping in time. Now, the thing that was good about that was you got to see Duran as a kid. You got to watch that build up. You got to, get why he is the way he is. You got his full motivation. You understood the spirit of who he was. And so that was good, and it was helpful in that. But what was hard for me about it constantly jumping in time, sometimes it would pop up a date at the bottom. Sometimes when it was only jumping months, it wouldn't pop up a date. And so a lot of times, whenever it would just skip ahead, I found myself flustered and trying really hard to just play catch up. So when it would go to a new scene and it turns out this is months ahead of just the last scene 5 seconds ago, I found myself trying to play catch up and figure out where we were and what was going on. And I did find that a little frustrating. So that's kind of where I was on that. That was kind of difficult for me. And the other thing that I guess because I love, sci-fi, superhero, action type movies, I at first went into this movie expecting this was going to be like a fighter movie, like Rocky, well choreographed fight scenes, long rounds, and one big, huge, major fight, and it really wasn't that. And whenever it was doing the boxing scenes, yeah, it looked good, it looked real, and it was intense, but they also jumped through the fights a lot, like, they kept jumping through time. So at first that frustrated me until I started to realize what the heart of this movie was about. Once I jumped on board with that, I enjoyed this movie even more on a totally different level. So the heart of this movie is basically finding your soul, finding your heart, the reason why you do what you do. And it was just an incredible movie about that. I mean, first off, you have De Niro, who plays one of Duran's coaches, and as always, I thought De Niro did a great job. I thought the performances in this movie, in terms of acting, the movie was fantastic there for sure. But you have De Niro, who wanted to take boxing and make it this mainstream thing. He couldn't because it was mafia owned, but of its own accord, boxing blew up and became, this mainstream thing. And because of the mafia stuff and the stuff he tried to do, he was not allowed to take any money for boxing stuff. So he trained Duran for free. I mean, that's where his heart was. He had a passion for boxing. He had a passion for what boxing was. And when boxing became the mainstream and hit TV and all that stuff, it kind of lost its soul. And it became about the show, the performances, the fame, the money, the lights, all that stuff. That's what it became about. And so De Niro really liked Duran because he believed Duran had the right spirit to bring boxing back to the golden age, to bring it back to where it was, to help boxing remember why it was there to begin with. And I thought that was really interesting on that level. But then you have the whole thing with Duran, with what was going on with him. I mean, he grew up hungry in Panama. He was, America was there and they were oppressed. They were poor. He was starving. He was always on the run from something. He was always hungry. He was always training. He was always fighting. And he had a lot of fight in him because his spirit and heart was to fight for the pride of Panama, to give them something to be proud of, someone to rally behind. And that's where I really started to pick up. And that was kind of his reason for being a fighter. And I thought that was something that was really cool about his character. There were things about his character that I didn't like. I mean, he was always kind of like this proud, puffed up guy. I don't know what he was like in real life, but in this movie, they did a lot of portrayal of him being kind of proud, puffed up, and extremely cocky. Some points that was really funny. Other times it's like, okay, tone it down, big guy. Like when he first met his wife, she was like in high school, I think. And I think his character was like 22, like college age. So there really wasn't that big of an age difference, but it was still just the way he sees her on the street. He starts following her. The lines he was throwing at her were real creeper lines, man. They were creeper lines. Like if a girl in modern day today heard that, would slap the guy and run as fast as she can the other direction. I'm telling you, it was creeper lines. So there was those moments where I was like, gosh, this guy is so full of himself and he's such a creeper. But this movie did something right where even in spite of the fact that they were portraying him like that, they caused you to like him because you got past those exteriors and those faults and you got to see his heart. And I thought that was really well done because when he was a jerk, yeah, there were times I was like, dude, because you're an idiot, I want you to lose this fight. Oh, wait, no, I take it back. I don't want you to lose. Come on, man, stand up and fight. I mean, it did a good job, like, portraying faults and all, but still getting you to be behind this character. And I thought that was really well done. And then, you know, and I probably should have said this, but, you know, it's a spoiler-free review, kind of to a point. What I'm about to talk about now is historical stuff. So this is something that has happened in the history of boxing. So if you want to go into this movie blind, like I did, hit the stop button right now. And then go see the movie, come back, find the time here, and come right back to this point. So, we good? Because I think in terms of movie, this is still spoiler-free, but in terms of history, that's already spoiled. So we're going to talk about it. Okay, here we go. So one of the things that was so interesting to me was when they brought up Duran against Sugar Ray Leonard, played by Usher, and I thought he did a pretty good job. He wasn't my favorite actor in the movie, but he didn't do anything bad. I thought he was a great actor, and he did a good job. But when you had Duran versus Sugar Ray, in that first fight, you have Duran who wins. I mean, he wins a world championship. He is just, oh, he's unbeatable. And it was really good. It was done well. It was intense, but he wins. And then he gets to this point where he's just like, okay, well, now I want to enjoy what I have. And it's somewhere in this that he begins to lose the heart of why he was doing what he was doing. And it's interesting because a lot of times in these movies, you see these boxers and stuff, when they lose the reason for what they're doing, they get consumed with the fame and the fortune and all that stuff. But I didn't get that with Duran. With Duran, he was mad because his dad was American and left his mom and him, and they were left in poverty. He was mad because America was right there in Panama, and it was a very bad time in his life. So he has a huge chip on his shoulder against America. He has a huge chip on his shoulder against his dad, and he lived his life with a ton of anger and bitterness in his heart. So when I say he lost the spirit of while he was there, part of it was probably some of the fame and stuff, but I think part of it was he gave himself over to that bitterness and hatred, and he was fighting for all the wrong reasons. So when Sugar Ray wants that rematch, and they do that rematch, he just didn't have that fight in him. And even in history, you see that he quit. Like in the middle of the fight, he's like, I'm done. I don't have it in me. I'm done. And in the movie, that was well done. It was such a powerful scene. And the rest of the movie becomes about him reclaiming his spirit, his heart, the reason why he was doing what he was doing. And so that to me was like the best part of the movie, was getting behind the heart of it. And so I thought that was really cool. In the end, I'm going to give this movie 3 out of 5 stars. Only 3 out of 5 because, yeah, I was still a little frustrated by the time jumps constantly jumping ahead in time and me and my mind trying to scramble to catch up to it. And, you know, I don't really follow boxing that much, so I probably didn't get everything out of it that I could have gotten out of it. But what I did get out of this movie, I really enjoyed. I was entertained beginning to end. I was inspired. Like, it was a good movie. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. And again, I'll say, if you follow boxing and all that stuff, I think this is the movie for you, and you'll enjoy it even more than I did. So if you saw Hands of Stone, what did you think of this movie? Make sure to let me know in the comments. While you're there, hit that subscribe button, be on top of all the new videos coming out, and make sure you hit like on this video. I'm Durbin. Thank you so much for checking out Durbania.